Is your sewing space a complete chaotic mess like mine? Do you have piles and piles of things to be mended or refashioned or made? Then stay tuned, because I also have those things, and in this video I'm going to sort it all out. Hey friends, welcome back to Karla.created. I'm Karla, and in this video I am going to be sorting out my sewing space. I don't know about you, but the time of the year after Christmas but before New Year is typically where I like to get myself organized for the year ahead. And I also do a bit of a cleanse of the house, almost like a spring clean, I guess. So I have been on a bit of a mission the last couple of days to do all of those things and get prepped for 2025. This has been on my mind for quite a few months. I just have not had the capacity. Earlier this year, I've had quite a big year, but now is the time. I've got a few days, and my husband said to me last night, let's do it. He got all motivated to help me, because I do really need some help. And that's my first suggestion. If you're going to be overhauling your own sewing space, and if you're someone like me who tends to lack the motivation to really thoroughly organize and think about where things should live rather than just putting them away, which is what I tend to do, more like tidying, then having someone help you can be a huge motivation. So when he offered to help me yesterday, I was like, oh my God, okay. Let's do it. But first things first, let's get everything out of this space, give it a good clean, and then start putting things back and organizing and culling and decluttering at the same time. And I'll take you on the journey with me. Let's start with an overview of my sewing space. Now you'll see that it's relatively small. You'll also notice that it just has so much stuff absolutely everywhere. I have a love for baskets, and having baskets all over the place means that they end up storing all sorts of random things. Now, this space used to double as a working from home study area where we store all of our laptops and computer gear. So you'll notice that my storage cupboard here has a combination of fabric, but it also has a whole bunch of office type supplies, cables, nonsense, paperwork, and essentially a lot of junk that we don't need and we don't use. So I'm going to go through all of it today and fix it all so then the space is way more efficient and functional for my sewing. I will be following a specific organization methodology called 5S to help me through this entire process, this entire overhaul. The first step to this methodology is to sort everything out. Essentially, this step is to eliminate any objects or items in the workspace that don't get used and are not relevant or needed to the work that needs to be done. So that includes all the computer stuff, unless it's to do with my filming and editing, obviously, for my YouTube channel, as well as the office stationery or any other unnecessary stuff that doesn't actually make sense to exist in this space. Now, the first step when you are sorting everything out is to take everything out of the workspace, put it in one location, and then go through everything. So that's exactly what I did. I went through and decided on what I needed to keep. So what made sense to remain in my sewing space and what did not belong in my sewing space, as well as what I no longer needed to keep. So I essentially ended up with 3 different piles: the stuff that needed to go back into my sewing space that I would continue to use, things that needed to be donated to charity or gifted on to other people, and then things that belonged elsewhere, which then migrated to those respective places. I'm just going to pause here and share with you something that I wanted to do for a really, really long time, and I've bit the bullet and I've done it. Paint the wall behind my desk. Now, I've had this pink paint in my shed for years. There's not much left, and I am determined to use it up. So I took one of the shelves down because I'm only going to paint the wall halfway up. I went up to as high as the second shelf, and I decided to do a really cute decorative sort of curved detail along the top, just as something fun and different. All right, quick update. The painting is going very well. I am slightly concerned that I may not have enough paint to do the 2 full coats, but we'll see. This is the joy of using up what you've got. The joy, maybe not so much joy, the anxious anticipation. Okay, the wall is painted and it is almost dry. The second coat is almost dry. I'm going to put the shelf back up. I just found this that I forgot that I bought. It's Rub and Buff, and I bought this to golden up the wooden frame behind me. So I'm going to tackle that today as well. At the moment, I have fabric in the tool cupboard behind me. I just pulled out another tub of fabric from this drawer here, which has got more sewing notions and whatnot in it. And now I'm getting another tub of fabric, which is in this corner cupboard, right at the back, so inaccessible, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, why did I put this here? Literally right at the back of this corner cupboard that's full of my patterns and elastic and other like notions and whatnot. I have a tub of more fabric. Seriously. So now that I've gone through and sorted everything out and I know what needs to go back into my sewing space, it's now time to set all of it in order. So putting the items that I use frequently in easily accessible places, as well as items that I don't necessarily use very often, like all of my patterns, in places that don't need to be accessed quickly and easily. So I've decided to put all of my patterns back in that cupboard, but at the far back, and leave my notions at the front with nothing on top so that I can access them way more easily than what I currently do. That's just an example of setting things in order. The other example is putting all of my fabrics in the one spot. So I have decided to use the tall cupboard in my space as my fabric storage. Okay, I have just literally used a cardboard box to block in the holes on the side of these drawers so then I can just put fabric straight in here and it won't fall out the sides. So I've put all of my jersey stretch in a drawer. This is much better. I have made use of that space. I do still have all of this scrap, which is like stretch fabric scrap. Much of it is not very good quality or very, very worn clothing that I don't want to send to landfill. So I think I really need to go through that, take out the things that are too far gone. And I've got a bit of a pile or a collection of things that are not really good enough to refashion, not good enough to use the fabric, and I'm going to turn them into rags or something, I'm not sure, because I feel really bad about just sending them to landfill by putting them in the bin. Gonna have a go at making use of them somehow. Probably rags. Alrighty, so this is the last box of fabric. There's like a old bag that I'm gonna try and mend. And this box is like all of the random bits of scrap in things other than plain cotton. So I've got polyester in here, I've got a bit of denim in here, I've got all sorts of stuff, and shoulder pads. Like, why have I kept these? What am I going to do with this offcut of silk? Anyway, so yeah, there is this. I am going to, that might be a later tonight job in front of the TV. The next step in the 5S methodology is shine. And this is where you give the area a really, really good clean. I interpret this step as making my space pretty. I've hung up all of the art and frames that I have had laying around and meaning to hang up. I finally hung them all on the wall and made the space really pretty. I started putting things back. I just really enjoyed this step of the process because it's where you're at the end and you're now starting to see the space come together and be really pretty and beautiful. The fourth step in the 5S methodology is to standardize. Essentially, this step is where you create a discipline for the previous 3 steps. So, for example, to make sure that you put things back where they belong. Create controls for yourself so then you never forget where things belong. I have a label maker and I really love to use it, so I took the opportunity to label all of my shelves where my fabric now lives to ensure that I put my different fabrics back where they belong. Things now have a dedicated home. I am a little bit stumped as to where my loom should live, though. I've put it under my desk for now. The last step in the 5S workplace organization methodology is to sustain everything that you've done, all of your efforts. Sustaining how I've set everything in order and made everything work for me is up to me. So I guess I need to hold myself accountable to make sure that I put things away properly and that I respect the workplace organization decisions that I have made during this whole overhaul process. It is looking absolutely fantastic. I am over the moon with how everything has turned out, especially the pink wall, which I painted with chalk paint because I had it in my garden shed and it really needed to be used up. It is really cool, and because it's chalk paint, it's got a little bit of a texture to it, which I quite like. I've left this space here blank because I am going to make a quilted wall hanging with probably a star block, which I have just discovered and made my first one last week, and it was so much fun. I am addicted. Yeah, I've got a lot in train and my mind is just ticking over with so many projects, especially now this is all done and my space is looking so lovely and I just want to hang out in here and create. Now that I've got everything organized, I'll be much more efficient and effective. I hope my process of overhauling my sewing space has given you some motivation and inspiration to do the same to your sewing space or room in preparation for the new year. I think having things organized, sorted out in the right place so then you can sustainably keep them organized is such a lovely cleansing thing to do before a new year commences. It's like starting fresh and rejuvenated. So I really hope that this video inspired you to do that because it's such a good feeling. I am so motivated right now to sit in this space, have a cup of tea on my new tea warmer thing and sew some more star blocks, which I'm super excited about. And if you like this video, please let me know in the comments and give it the thumbs up. It means the world to me. I love hearing from all of you. Any tips that you have for keeping things organized in your own sewing space, I would love to hear them. It's very easy to let our creative spaces get out of control because the process takes over when we're creating and we just create mess. So keeping things organized obviously can be a little bit challenging. So yeah, any tips that you have, please let me know. I'd love to hear them. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and I will see you in the next one. Bye.